Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Heber Valley. This is Dr. Scott Phillips, and this show is For the Health of It. Just wanted to thank everyone for listening here right off the bat. It is Thursday, December the 4th. If you can believe we're already in December. I missed you guys last week there on Thanksgiving. Hopefully everybody enjoyed celebrating National Eat as Much as You Can Until You Hurt Day, and hopefully it wasn't too bad of a time as far as your own health is concerned. I was not able to be here mostly because it was Thanksgiving, but because I couldn't foresee this, I was actually in the hospital with my wife, having our fifth child on that day, on Thanksgiving Day, and so I definitely had some great reasons to be thankful. But just a little bit about me. I'm a local chiropractor here in town. I own Lifestyle Chiropractic and Wellness Center that is located in the Clock Tower building. And my passion for everybody is to find your ultimate health, to try to be as healthy as you can be, and find ways that you can do that, easy and simple ways every single day. So hopefully today we're going to talk about some things that are weighing on your minds. I took to Facebook starting, I think, on Tuesday, and asked everybody to kind of contribute some questions and things like that as far as just what you guys are wondering about. And so that's what most of today is going to be about. And I'm also going to go ahead and open up those phone lines in case anyone just didn't comment on the Facebook page and has questions. So again, the phone number here, 657-1340. That's 657-1340. And you are welcome to call in and ask any question you're looking for. Hopefully health related, because that's really where my area of expertise is. So excited to be with you this morning. Again, can't believe it's December already. We're 3 weeks away from Christmas time for those who celebrate that wonderful holiday. And there is snow on the mountains. There probably needs to be more. I know I'm crazy for saying that, but hopefully we'll get the white Christmas that we all dream of, that we only thought was a myth when I grew up in Texas. We thought, really, people have snow any time of the year, and especially on Christmas, but hopefully we'll have a nice blanket here in a couple of weeks. Just wanted to go over a couple of our activities going on around town. Again, as far as races and health-related things, those kind of take a little bit of a back burner. I hope everyone enjoyed the turkey trot there that we did in Midway on Thursday. Again, I was in the hospital helping my wife deliver that baby, so I didn't get to run it, but I know it was well attended, and I hope everyone had a great time doing that. The weather, I think, was perfect for it. Maybe a tad on the chilly side, but once you started getting running, I'm sure that kind of warmed up nicely. So good work doing that. And other than that, this weekend we've got the Swiss Christmas is going on full swing down in Midway. Most of the stuff going on at the town hall. So go ahead and take a look at the calendar of events for that and get excited for that to happen. Other than that, I'm not really sure of a whole lot of things that are going on. So if you're out there and you have an event that's health related that you want to also announce, you can go ahead and feel free to call in. Let's talk about, I told people on Facebook I would tell this fun birth story, and so that's kind of what I want to do at the first, and also give a nice warm shout out and thank you to the people over at Heber Valley Medical Center. I did have Sean Morrow, their administrator, on the show not too long ago, and one of the big things that just kind of kept sticking with me after we talked was what he talked about, having his employees bring their hearts to work, is what he said. And I thought that was such a really neat idea. And so the people that we interacted with there, we had several nurses and several other people that were helping us out while we were there last Thursday, and I'll tell you, every single one I enjoyed my interaction with. They were very nice and super helpful, and then also just really good to kind of let my wife kind of labor and do what she needed to do, and just made sure that she felt she was kind of the center of the show, and that they were there to support. And really, in all the births that we've had, I think as far as being supported, that was definitely the best one. And so anyone out there that's thinking that the Heber Hospital is the same old hospital it was 20 years ago needs to go down and check it out, because really they did a fantastic job, and we would just highly recommend anyone having any type of birthing situation to go out there and try it out. We did it naturally. My wife did it naturally, I should say, because she did all the hard work, and they were just really, really supportive of her, and we had a great experience. So anyway, just wanted to give them a nice shout out, so to speak, and just tell anybody that wants to check out the Heber Valley Medical Center, you should go and meet some of these fantastic people. So anyway, we took Wednesday last week. It was a day off of work, and I know the kids were out of school, and so we took that day to kind of naturally try to prompt the labor. We figured the sooner the better, because she was due on the Tuesday, so she was a day over. And any of you women who have gone over your due day and understand that that's the longest day in the world, and so we decided to try about every little trick that we had heard of in the book. So we started out with a big long walk to Days Market, and we ate some spicy food while we were there, and then we came home and drank some pineapple juice, and I gave her a nice long foot rub, and by about 10:30 that night, she was feeling like maybe she was going into some contractions, but we were able to sleep for a little bit, luckily. Then probably about, I think it was about 2 o'clock in the morning, we woke up, and she said, yeah, this is going. And so we kind of got things ready and called her parents. And anyone that knows me knows that our third child came on the side of the road because we were a little slower than we probably should have been. So each of these last fourth and fifth, we've been very aware of trying to not stall too much. And so when she felt like it was time to go, we got in the car and we headed over to the hospital, and we were expecting to have a baby pretty soon. It was about 3:30 in the morning. And come to find out, she wasn't as far progressed as she thought, because the baby was posterior again, just like with our fourth. And so she was not very excited about that, because that means we were in for a little bit longer labor than she wanted, and she was already kind of in pain. So again, as a tribute to the staff there at the hospital, they provided her with things to help her out, to labor with, and wanted to make sure she was comfortable. And so after a good little while of doing that, finally the baby started to drop and started to engage, and she started feeling like it was time to have the baby. And our doctor was there in the building, but when my wife's ready to push, she doesn't wait for really anybody. And so she said, hey, I think I've got to push. And so the nurse ran out to try to call the doctor, and I said, all right, I guess I'm up. So I jumped there and helped guide that baby out, and I got to catch my fifth one, much like I did my third, except this one wasn't on the side of the road, and so I was very happy about that. So we had a great experience. We've got this wonderful little infant at home. She's a week old now. Even that time's flying by too much, and so I've appreciated everybody's congratulations and everything like that I've had, and my wife and I are doing great, and the kids love her to death. And just it's funny, anytime I look over, it seems like there's one of my kids just staring at her as she's laying down sleeping, just can't believe how little and how cute she is. So again, we had a great experience there at the hospital, and I think anyone that's doing any type of birthing situation would be remiss to not even at least look into it, because just as Sean had said on the show, I think they really do bring their hearts to work, which I just really appreciated. So that's that fun story. Again, kind of neat for me to be able to just deliver my two daughters. The boys can fend for themselves, but the girls I wanted to take care of starting in their birth. So just kind of a fun thing for me. Let us go to some of these questions. And again, if you have questions other than the ones that I'm answering here today, please feel free just to go ahead and call in. The first one I wanted to address was the first one that I got, and I really liked this. It was just after posting the idea, and the young lady got on and asked this great question. And so her question was about sugar cravings. And I think this is something that is very near and dear to all of our hearts, especially around this time of year. It just seems that this is the time where junk food is just all over the place, and you can't get away from it. Usually, if you don't buy it, you should be okay. But in this time of year, it seems like every night someone's knocking on the door with something else that's sugary and sweet and wonderful tasting, but it just seems like it's over and over. So the question goes like this: I seem to be addicted to sugar, not intentionally, but every time I eat, I find that sugar has been added to sweeten the meal. How do I curb the sweet tooth during the holidays? And I think that really is a great question, probably one that many, many people are thinking about. But let's talk about the first thing that she said about being addicted to sugar. Now, what I want people to know is that there are chemical reactions that take place in your brain when you eat sugar. And specifically, we're talking about the granulated sugar. If you know anything about the production of this white sugar that you buy at the stores, it comes usually from two sources, beets being the most affordable and the easiest, kind of least expensive way to get it, and then cane is the other way that we get this powdered sugar. So what you have to realize is that there's a huge process of boiling it down and finally getting to that nice little white granule. And the punch, so to speak, that one little granule packs is quite significant, not just in your body as far as insulin and things like that, but also in your brain. And so there are many receptors and things like that all of a sudden really light up when sugar is introduced to the system. Now, that's just regular sugar, which most things in the grocery store, especially that you buy, are sweetened with other things, especially our high fructose corn syrup that I know we've talked about on this show quite a few times. But it lights up the same way, and then it does other bad things because it doesn't produce the insulin reaction. It doesn't turn on the satiety hormone, making you feel like you're full. And so that can be even worse. So what I want to do first is let people that know and feel like they're even addicted to this stuff, to let you know that you probably are and that it's okay. And it's something that you should probably be aware of. And I think that the fact that this young lady was aware of it already, I think is quite significant. And so if you feel these I just crave sugar, right? I feel like I'm addicted. I'm not even hungry, but I want to eat it. I want you to know there is an addiction. There is this craving that has very little to do with actual hunger. So I came up with some ideas and some ways, some crazier than others, that we can try to curb some of these cravings. Now again, this time of year it's very difficult because someone brings you a big old plate of cookies, all of a sudden there it is. And who wants to throw away their neighbor's plate of cookies that they worked so hard on, right? You can already see like the dumpster blows over and the cookies fall out and the neighbor sees, and then it's a very awkward situation. So I can understand that some of these might be a little bit harder to do in the holidays. But one thing to do that I've always thought of is to try to not think that you have to eat them all right then. Start to gain a collection, because then when the kids come over or when neighbors come over, then you have something to offer. And anytime you can take those take them to church on Sunday, you're just sharing what someone shared with you, and I don't see how that could hurt anybody's feelings. So I guess that would be the first thing, is get some kind of storage receptacle, some kind of Tupperware, something or other that makes it a little harder to jump at, right? If it's just a plate of cookies open and out for everybody there on the middle of the table, it's going to be really easy to go by and grab one here and there every time you walk by. But if you put them in like a Tupperware thing or something that you have to actually open, out of sight, out of mind, sometimes is a good rule here. And so it kind of takes one step away of, okay, now you actually have to find it. But here are some other ideas. First of all, try to figure out if you're hungry when you get a craving. Like I say, we don't really crave things specifically just when we're hungry. In fact, it's not even your body saying, hey, I want energy. It's actually your brain saying, hey, I want something that feels like a reward, that's going to release dopamine, which is one of your feel-good hormones. And so the first time you think of, hey, I'm kind of craving something sugary, a really good idea is to just assess your hunger level. I am really bad at this at the grocery store, and my wife can attest to it. We're shopping at the grocery store. I think, hey, should we get some of this? Should we get some of that? And she'll turn to me and say, you're hungry, aren't you? Because she knows that when I'm hungry, all of a sudden everything sounds really good. Whereas when I'm full, then I can kind of pay attention to what's being craved. Is it something that I want, or is it more something that my brain's just telling me I want to have for a second? And so that's a really easy thing to do, is you say, hey, okay, am I hungry? And if I'm hungry, let's make something healthy. Let's actually, go through the trouble of making some sort of something to eat, right? If it's mealtime, make a meal. If it's a snack time, make a really good snack. And at that point, after you're done eating and you're not hungry anymore, then you can say, okay, am I still craving this, or is this something that was able to take care of? The second one I actually read about that I'd never really heard of, and I'm very interested, so I want to give it out there because I want someone to try this and tell me if it actually works. Someone said that a way to curb these cravings is actually to take a hot shower. And so I don't know if they work for the gas company and they're looking for people to take 8 hot showers a day. Again, I don't know if this is going to be good on your water bill, but the idea behind it is that you don't want it so hot that you burn, but hot enough to kind of jolt your system a little bit. And so you're in there for 5 or 10 minutes, you let it run over your head, over your back, that kind of a thing. And then once you get out, apparently there's this kind of daze that you might be in. I've never really experienced this before, but kind of like you've been in the sauna. And so you come out, and I guess the idea is that at that point in that kind of daze and haze, that sugar craving is gone. So again, this one's one I'm interested in. I've never tried it myself, but I would love for someone out there who's listening to say, hey, maybe my cravings, I've tried everything. This is one more thing maybe I can give a shot. And I would be very interested to see if that actually works for people. Like I say, for me, it'd be funny because on any given day, it would make me have to take like 6 or 7 showers a day. So maybe this is kind of your last line of defense. Another one is kind of distance yourself from the kitchen. It's very easy to crave things and to give into cravings when you're right next door or even in the kitchen. So one bit of advice I've heard is to put on your walking shoes and go for a walk. And that doesn't mean you have to go for a long run, or it doesn't even mean you have to do much more than walking around the block. But even in weather like this, it's not too bad out there. You can put on a coat and put on some shoes and take you a walk around the neighborhood and see how that does, and see if that ends up changing that craving much at all. Again, if we're talking about a hunger issue, which most of the time with sugar cravings we're not. And so the hunger really isn't the issue. It's more the emotional and psychological thing that's going on. And so I think a lot of these tools are designed to sort of break you out of that psychological pattern that's going on at that moment. And so that's kind of what a walk can do, is it gets your metabolism going a little bit. It makes you think of other things, and also releases some of those endorphins too. Let me give you some other ideas. Again, I really, really like this question, so hopefully I'm not dwelling too long on it. But this is such a great and appropriate time of year to try to help people out with some of these cravings. One thing that I do, I really like to, when I'm starting to crave something like that, I really like to grab a glass of water. And I don't know if it's just, hey, let's, put something in the stomach, see how that feels type of thing. But some people say that these sugar cravings can actually be caused by a little bit of dehydration. So just kind of say, okay, let's put it on the back burner for a second. Let's drink some water. Let's see how that does. Another one I really like to do is eat a piece of fruit. Because if your body's just feeling like, hey, I want something sweet, my honest opinion to people is that a nice ripe pear, I really like pears, or a well-picked pineapple, these types of things really curb that impulse and that craving for me just as much as the bowl of ice cream or the candy bar or whatever it is I'm craving. And so if I have that stuff around, now the trick of it is to make sure you have the fruit lying around. But even some frozen fruit, just something that's sweeter. And you say, hey, if I eat this apple, if I eat this orange, first anyway. Let's see how that does for the sugar craving. I really like this idea: avoid artificial sweeteners. Some people actually get triggered to want sweetness when they eat artificial sweeteners, and again, it's a physiological thing where you feel like you've satisfied that craving with this sugary type of thing, but there's no insulin release, there's no satisfying hormones released, and so there's nothing that's going to satisfy that because you're still hungry, you're still wanting to eat. And so this person actually said that you should avoid those artificial sweeteners, and that's one of the top 5 ingredients that I say to avoid anyway, so I definitely second that. Another person said that sometimes you're deficient in protein. The protein is actually really good to help kind of keep you full longer, all that kind of stuff. And so if there's some protein that you really like, this is a good time of year to stock up on jerkies of sorts, right? There's deer jerky, there's elk jerky, there's all kinds that people are making and selling right now. And so that might be a good thing. Say, hey, I kind of want something sweet, but maybe I'll grab something in the protein family, and that can help curb it as well. Again, we've talked about support groups in here and people that you can go to. I always think that's an effective method. Right, you talk to another friend that you have that she or he is also, somewhat prone to these types of cravings, and then say, hey, when I get one, I'm going to call you. You're my sponsor, so to speak. If we're talking about real addiction here, which I mean, I don't mean to downplay other addictions vices that may be a little more harmful to your health, but sugar there really is an emotional tie. It's not just a physiological thing. If you're feeling that, it isn't a bad idea to have a friend that you can call and say, hey, I'm kind of feeling like I want some sugar. Maybe it's a neighbor friend that says, hey, all right, me and you are going for a walk, and I don't think that would be a bad idea. Good sleep is the next one that I came up with, and that's something I think that a lot of people struggle with, and I think what you'll realize is if you pay attention to your body, the more sleep deprived you are, the more comforting you want things to be, and so that comfort food, that emotional eating, that kind of thing can happen when you are a little bit more sleep deprived. And then the last one that I really liked was to actually put together a list, and I think this would be a great thing to do at this time of year, is put together a list of why you want to eat healthy, why you want to be healthy, some of the feelings that you have when you feel like you're the most healthy, and have that list close to you. And so when you have any ideas of anything you probably feel like you ought not to do health-wise, that you open up this list and you read it, and you kind of remind yourself, almost like you're writing yourself a letter, like, Dear Dr. Scott, remember that last time you ate 6 donuts and you felt like you were in a diabetic coma and you passed out, and it was a terrible feeling. Remember, you want to feel good, and so maybe try not to do that again this time, something like that. But it wouldn't be a bad thing to carry around with you, especially this time of year. You're going to different work parties or church parties or all these other things, get-togethers in the neighborhood, and it's just so easy to start to overindulge day after day after day. And so this would be a nice little way to kind of center and take a look and remember why you're trying to be healthy. Again, remember that December is kind of this time that the people sort of throw their health to the wayside, and then January they say, okay, we'll start back up that month and really have the healthiest year we've ever had. That's why the gyms are so crowded in January and then so empty in February. If we're waiting to make something a habit, then we'll continue to always do that, and we'll always find good excuses why this month is not the month to do it. And so I think if you really have goals of being healthier, I think it's a great idea to put them down on paper and have that available for you to pull out and read and help you get through some of these harder cravings. So anyway, there are some good ideas. There's some tips, and hopefully someone tries the the hot shower thing so that we can all talk about it here later and see if that actually helped anybody. Let's go to a next question. I have to hope that this is a serious question, but perhaps it isn't. I had someone comment, and I just have to read the whole thing because I think you might enjoy it. So, oh, this is the wrong one. I posted on a few different sites. You may know if you see them. Let's go to, well, maybe we'll have to read that. Oh, there it is. Okay, perfect. So this person says, what about extreme flatulence? Now, flatulence, for those of you who may not know, is the passing of gas. Any requests to know about how to solve that problem? I heard a quote-unquote friend suggesting he had a problem with that. So hopefully this person that wrote that question really does have a friend that has a problem with it, and it's not just for him. But all joking aside, I thought I should address this just in case someone's wondering. I always like to laugh and say that that flatulence is not pathology, right? We all kind of have gas here and there, and that we have to pass. And I like to tell my wife that it's unhealthy to hold it in. But some people do really struggle with this and worry about it. And so I wanted to address it and say that a really good way to deal with anything in the digestive system. First of all, there's probiotics that you can take. We've talked about probiotics on the show before. They have them in pill form that I think are okay. I like them better in food form. Yogurt is one that's famous for probiotics, but I will say that you don't get near enough to actually see a change in your physiology. And so if you're looking for a better food form, look for things that are fermented, such as the kombucha drink, right? That's the fermented mushroom type of beverage. Kefir is another one. And really any of your sauerkrauts, things like that, those are all really excellent sources of probiotics. If none of those really sound too tasty, go down to your local health food store, and they've got, I'm sure, a ton. The guidelines for a good probiotic that I like to share with people is, first of all, don't just get one culture. It's very popular to go to the store and just get acidophilus, or just get one culture that says, okay, if I just flood my system with this. The interesting thing is that there are many, many, many bacterial cultures in your gastrointestinal tract, and you're going to want lots of them. And so the first thing I say is move past the acidophilus, move past the just one culture probiotics, and get into the ones that have multiple. I like to have 5 or 6. Most are in the lactobacillus family, but if you can find them with 5 or 6, or even up into the 10s, I've heard of some like that. It's a really good idea to make sure you have a good variety of these probiotics. And then make sure you look for ones that have tens of billions to tens of billions of cultures. And so that sounds like a ton, but you have to realize that these things are so small that you really, really want that high of a number. And then how do you take it? Well, the first little while you want to really repopulate. If it's something you're interested in, let's say from an antibiotic standpoint, from a real sickness type of standpoint, you really want to beef it up, and even to the point of taking a capsule, twice a day. Most of them on their recommended usage will say just to take one a day. Which is fine usually, but if you're really wanting to repopulate your whole gut system, you need to really be taking more than that. Nice thing is there's no side effects. These are all harmless bacteria, and really the only side effect is that you kick out some of the bad bacteria that may be lurking around down there. So I would recommend that if you're really trying to repopulate your gut, to start on 2 or even 3 capsules a day for maybe a week or 2, and then back it off from there. But probiotics, really, anyone having any trouble with their guts, that's the first thing that I say, jump on that, right? Irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, a lot of these that you're working with your physicians to kind of help get a hold of, I would consult and ask them and say, hey, tell me about probiotics, tell me if that's something that could be beneficial. But I'll tell you, the more you can line your intestines with these healthy, good bacteria, the easier things are going to digest, the better you're going to absorb some of your nutrients, and then the less room there is for other bacteria to hang out. In fact, a lot of people don't know there's actually most of your immune system is in your digestive system, which seems strange. And your digestive system has its own nervous system even. And so it's a very important part of the body. And I think a lot of times we ignore some of the problems that we have there. And so while I know this question was somewhat of a funny one, I really think it's a good thing to address and to talk about that system and say, hey, I think a lot of times the healthier your gut is, the healthier you are in general. And the opposite is true. Once you start to realize the gut's not working quite like it should, I think overall health starts to decline also. If you're looking for anything else, if you're like, yeah, I try probiotics and I'm still kind of looking for something more, peppermint is actually a really good oil. That's a really good, I guess we could call it a functional type of a food that can help with the digestive system. And so you can rub it on your tummy, you can ingest it orally, you can do all kinds of things. And peppermints are really, really good. So this is a great time of year because peppermint is abounding. But don't think that those 89-cent candy canes are going to give you the peppermint you need. I would go to get a better source of peppermint if you're looking for therapeutic value. So thank you for that question. I will have to say, like I say, I almost thought it was just kind of funny and wasn't going to address it, but then I thought, you know what, that's a really good topic, I think. Maybe one that we'll see on a future show to talk about the digestive system and to really get people excited about making their digestive tract a lot more healthy. Another question. Here someone asked me, your opinion on synthetic versus whole food vitamins. Now, we talked vitamins the last time I was alone here in the studio, and we didn't get super far into them because I get long-winded, as many of you probably know. But anyone that knows me knows that I don't mind supplementation at all, as long as you have a good reason for doing it. And what I mean by that is, if all you want to do is take a multivitamin because you feel like, hey, I probably should be taking a multivitamin, it's not very expensive. It can put your mind at ease a little bit. But I will tell you that most of the time, those vitamins aren't really being absorbed and used like you may hope. And so I would rather have someone go in and investigate and figure out what types of vitamins or minerals they feel like they may need supplementing. Let's say someone is diabetic and they feel like, hey, I've heard chromium can help with that. Or let's say someone has high cholesterol and has heard that, hey, niacin has a really good effect on high cholesterol. All kinds of different, even to my kids thinking they want better eyesight, and so let's eat some carrots, right? So we kind of say, okay, well, first of all, figure out what do you think you need. Are you someone that may be getting pregnant and thinks maybe I need some folic acid? But don't just blindly say, hey, I'm just going to grab a multivitamin and hope I cover all my bases. Because the more focused you can get, then the more you know exactly what you're looking for. So let's say somebody says, hey, I'm looking to supplement with folic acid. I think that's a pretty common one, especially in an area where people like me are crazy and have 5 kids. So I'm looking to supplement with folic acid. I want to make sure that I get enough folic acid. Okay. So you can go to the grocery store and you can grab a bottle of folic acid and you can take it, 3 times a day or once a day or whatever it is, and feel pretty good like you're getting the folic acid you need. The problem with these synthetic vitamins, and we'll call them synthetic because they're made in a chemical plant. It's not them extracting folic acid from a food source. It's actually putting together folic acid in a lab and then putting it in a pill form. So this synthetic vitamin or mineral, in this case, is not made to the bioavailability that you can get them in the food form. So what I mean by that is your body may or may not recognize this folic acid because it's not coming from a natural source. And so the way that we know that is anytime we've done studies and compared a synthetic vitamin or mineral to its food source, the body uses the food source way, way more. And so that's why a lot of people almost overuse synthetic vitamins because they're feeling like, hey, I want to make sure that I just flood my body with it. But you have to realize a lot of times the body just doesn't recognize it, doesn't use it, and it comes out the other end just the way that it went in. And so that's when we kind of talk about people that take some of these vitamins have, mostly expensive urine because that's all they're doing is putting in their body and it's coming out the same way. So I'm very, very pro finding food sources. So you say, well, folic acid, spinach is a fantastic folic acid source, and so you can up your spinach by eating more salads if you want. You can put them in a green smoothie. You can throw them into your scrambled eggs in the morning, but say, hey, I want folic acid, so I'm going to boost my spinach intake, and then I know for a fact that my body will then take that folic acid because it isn't a food source. Now, if you're saying, okay, I want a lot more than just that, that's when I think we look into these food source vitamins. And again, let me read exactly what he said. Whole food vitamins. I know some of these companies that are really interested in making sure that the vitamins they produce are in a whole food form, meaning instead of synthesizing it, they're actually taking it from the food products themselves. Standard Process is one that I know is very, very, very interested in making sure their vitamins are whole food. And so, again, I would say that definitely on the line of how do I supplement. I think first food, like actual food, if you can find the foods that have the vitamins and minerals that you're looking for and boost your intake of those foods, I think you're going to get them the best. But you say, okay, well, I really want to see if niacin can lower my cholesterol. I'm not sure if I want to eat that much food with niacin specifically in it. Then let's go find a whole food source of niacin. Let's get a vitamin or a supplement that does come from a whole food source, because you can be more sure that it's going to be available there in your body, that your body's going to say, oh, okay, I recognize this, I'm going to use it, and I'm going to take that niacin, I'm going to lower my cholesterol, or I'm going to take that folic acid, I'm going to make sure that my baby doesn't have neural tube defects. And so really good question there, but definitely my opinion for sure is the synthetic vitamins are going to be your least expensive and your cheapest. What you guys have to realize is that the FDA, who, remember, is our governing body here as far as food and things like that, they do not regulate supplements. Now, I don't know if supplements would be any better if they did regulate them, but you have to realize that supplementation is not regulated by any governing entity. There's no one that comes in and tests the quality and makes sure that these vitamins that you're producing do what you say they. I mean, really, you can make all kinds of claims, and as long as you put the star on it that says they've never been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration, then the FDA leaves you alone. So what that means is if I wanted to make a folic acid, I could go into my chemical lab there at my house and I could put together folic acid and I could sell it. And hopefully it actually is folic acid, but I never would really even have to prove that. And I could make it cheaply, so I could sell it cheaply. And so really in the world of supplementation, a lot of times you really do get what you pay for. And so if all you're after is just the peace of mind of, hey, I'm taking my multivitamin and I feel like that's a good thing for me, then you can keep taking, your whatever brand you get there that's synthetic, and you may or may not be getting any benefit from it physiologically, but emotionally maybe that'll help you. But I would say, hey, take it one step further. See what you really need. Are you down on energy? Feel like you want to supplement some B vitamins? Well, there's lots of really good food sources for B vitamins. Are you down on energy, or are you feeling like, hey, I could use a little more, the depression issue right here in this time of year. Sunlight's not really around, so we're not making the vitamin D that we're used to. Hey, maybe I need some more vitamin D, and that one's one definitely you can look into too. So for sure, whole food over synthetic, but I think food over even pills is one step further for that. Second question on that feed was a friend of mine actually from Texas. So I imagine he's not listening to us live, but maybe he'll check it out after. But he asked me, smoothie versus juicing, pros of each, cons of each, which is better for all-around nutrition of your body. This is definitely one that I never really seen the industries competing, I don't think, but definitely people have their thoughts on which ones they prefer. So let's just talk about the pros of getting more fruits and vegetables in your diet anyway, right off the bat, right? Because both of these are going to give you those benefits. Again, 4 to 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day is what the government recommends. They recommend at least 4 to 5, usually 2 of fruit and 3 of vegetable. And if you kind of go on your on your own diet and kind of look at it, especially this time of year. I know I say that a lot, but it's a really hard month to really try to eat healthy and be healthy. And so if you're getting 4 to 5 a day this time of year, I commend you, because it really is very difficult if you're not really being cognizant about it and thinking about it all the time. Hey, I need to make sure that my fruit and vegetable intake is high. It's really, really easy to let it go by the wayside and not actually get the stuff that you need. So I would say at least look at your diet and say, am I getting 4 to 5? If I'm not, let's boost it up, and smoothies and juices are both really, really good ways to help you boost that. Now, the other thing I talk about is if you check into a really good cancer institute, right? Let's say you've got cancer and you want to really fight it on all angles, and you check in somewhere like the Cancer Institutes of America, if you've heard of that company. You check into there, and the first thing that they do in your diet is actually put you on 9 to 11 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. And what we know is the antioxidant power, the healing power of these fruits and vegetables, and the things that they have in them are so good for us to say, hey, if we really want to fight cancer as much as possible, we need to eat even double what the recommended value is. So I guess in my little mind, I think, you know what, I'm not diagnosed with cancer right now, but if I would like to fight cancer like people are fighting it who actually have it, then maybe getting around the 9 to 11 isn't a bad idea. And I'll tell you, if you're not doing a smoothie or you're not juicing and you're trying to get 9 to 11 servings of fruits and vegetables a day, you are constantly eating fruits and vegetables. So this is what I say, okay, I think everybody should have a good fruit or green smoothie or juice in their arsenal, in their daily use, because then that helps them realize that, hey, I'm actually boosting up my intake. So those are the pros for both of them, is as we boost the intake of these natural disease-fighting foods, then we're overall just really helping our health. I mean, there's just nothing better to say than that. And I think everyone out there, including me, can do better on their fruit and vegetable intake. So whether you want a smoothie, whether you want to juice them, I think both have pros from that standpoint for sure. So let's go to the cons. As far as the juicing goes, people say, well, it's a fiber issue, that you're missing all the fiber in there. And I'm not sure if fiber has really been proven to be all that great for us. I know one popular alternative health voice talks about the ill effects of fiber. I'm not on that train myself. I feel like fiber's good for us, and so that's why I personally prefer the smoothies over the juices. But again, it's this processing idea for me, that the more we mess with the whole food, the less good we get out of it. And so I feel like juicing is almost our own way to kind of process and just get one specific thing out. Now, you'll get some vitamins, you'll get some nutrients, things like that, but you'll also get a higher concentration of the sweetener in there, of the fructose. Mostly because, right, if I ate 3 oranges, I'd be pretty stinking full, and I'd feel like I'd eaten a lot. But if I juice 3 oranges and drink that orange juice, it almost only just sparks more hunger for me, right? Because it's just not as satisfying. And so I think juicing, what it has at a disadvantage is that you're missing a lot of some of the other things in the matrix of the food that's not being included in the juice. And I feel like you have to get more of the fruit or the vegetable in order to get the same benefit. Now, as far as blending and smoothies go, right, the cons there that I could see probably have more to do with, you know, some of these whole foods not tasting as good, maybe making it so it's not quite as palatable. You blend too much spinach or kale into a smoothie, and I don't care what else you have in there, you can't taste anything but that, right? And so from a palatable taste standpoint, I think that's where sometimes you can go wrong in the blending and in the smoothies, because you have to really make sure that there is a high enough concentration of highly sweetened fruits in order to counterbalance some of the really bitterness of some of these vegetables that don't come out so much in the juice. And so I think it's easier to juice greens and vegetables and things like that and still have them taste pretty good than blend the same thing and have it do the same as far as how it tastes. So again, I'm biased because I'm a blending guy, but I think juicing is a great way to start to get more fruits and vegetables. It might be a little tastier, but I always say, no one ever got fat eating fruit. No one got obese. That's not our problem in the country, right? It's not that, oh, shoot, we just started eating way too much fruit, and so here we are all very obese. And so what I would rather people do is make a really good tasting smoothie. Throw in whatever fruits you want. Just make sure it tastes really good. I would refrain from adding any sweeteners, right? Don't put in any sugar, don't put in any of the honey, stuff like that. Just make it straight fruit and use the sweetened fruit as much as possible so that you can get a nice tasting sweet fruit smoothie. And start to drink that. And then the next time you make it, put in a handful of spinach or put in a couple of carrots or whatever you want to do, and see how that changes the taste of that particular smoothie. And then you can kind of have a good base to say, okay, can I taste it really bad? Is it too much of this stuff? Because, again, we're not going to drink it if we don't like it. And so this is a good way to really have a good go-to fruit recipe and then toss in a few veggies here and there just before you can even taste it. Because I promise you can put 3 leaves of spinach into that recipe and you will not taste it even one bit. And even though it's not a ton of spinach, your body's still going to use it and say, hey, I like this stuff. And you're going to get definitely some good out of that. So I think for all-around nutrition, I think the juicing, mostly because you're missing some of the key nutrients and the key components of these fruits and vegetables. I think the juicing might be a little bit on the inferior end of it. I think the whole food, again, is where we're going to really get everything that we are supposed to get out of it. And so I am one that says let's go for the smoothies. I think let's blend it. Let's get the whole food in there. I was even weird enough one time to see how things with their peels and stuff tasted, and I will tell you that it was not what I thought it should be. And what you have to realize is as gross as an orange peel tastes, if you bite into it on accident, you can taste it very strongly if you blend it too. So I would say skin it first and then put it in, but at least you get that whole food. And I think you have less of the fruits and vegetables to make yourself full. So that's the answer to that question. I'm actually doing pretty good on my time management, I think. We've got 10 minutes or so. I've got one more question that somebody asked. Again, I just want to thank everybody who's listening, either live or on the YouTube channel, for participating in this, giving me some things to talk about. I have things in my own mind that I feel like are very important, but maybe that's just me. So it's good to hear from other people, to hear what people are kind of thinking about and struggling with this time of year. Again, I guess I always forget to tell you that I do have a YouTube channel. So if you're listening right now and you're like, hey, I kind of like these shows, I've made every single one available on YouTube. You can just go to YouTube and search out For the Health of It, Scott Phillips, and it should take you to my channel there, and you can listen to any of them you want, and feel free to comment and tell you how much you like them. Because if you told me you didn't like them, I don't know if my ego could take it. No, I'm just kidding. So here comes a question, the last one that we're going to deal with, and it says, what is the best way to prevent and treat seasonal colds naturally? And I really, really like this because I've seen out there in the cyberverse people talking about, hey, is this going around? Is that going around? Hey, my child is feeling this way. Is this something that other people are feeling? And this is really the time where people start to get sick, and I'll tell you why. Right? Why does our immune system decrease? Well, our immune system decreases for lots and lots of reasons. But one of them is that this, just like we were talking about before, this is a really, really hard time to eat very well. In fact, it's a very easy time to eat very poorly. And so you think of your kids getting treats at home, getting treats at school, getting treats at church. All of a sudden, we're now packing all of this sugar and sweetener and all this kind of stuff into these little bodies, which is very, very degrading to the to the immune system. I promise you, if you want any way to make yourself sick very fast, go on some sort of sugar binge and hang out indoors with people that have viruses and colds and things like that. So, is it a fact that colds and flus and things like that are shared? Yes, definitely. They are, can be very contagious. You can catch them from other people. But the problem is, how come someone can walk in a room and have be nervous about catching a cold because someone in the room has it, and let's say that person does catch it, but not everyone in the room catches it, right? So there's definitely some personal accountability that we have to realize, that when our immune system is ready to fight something, then it will fight it very, very well and very effectively. And we won't have to worry about even maybe feeling sick. Sometimes it fights it without us even knowing, and sometimes we're down for a second, because our body kind of has to take that time to fight something off, especially if it's a little harder to fight. But what you can be sure is, as you treat your immune system, make sure that it's as high as possible and as effective as possible, that you are going to be seen differently, you're going to be feeling differently than most your general just, hey, I went out and I caught a bug type of people. So this is a really, really hard time of year. This is a very high sick time of year. People are sharing germs. People are sharing things. And so my best way for the first part of the question to prevent is to do everything you can in your power right now to just build that immune system. And so you say, okay, well, how do I build the immune system? We have to combat two areas. First is doing active things to make sure that your immunity is as high as possible. Probiotics is one of the best ones that you can do because, like I say, it keeps that gut healthy. It keeps it so those bacteria that are hanging out there in the gut that can turn into opportunistic infections, of what we call them, that they don't have any room to grow and proliferate. And so as you keep your guts healthy and you have those good bacteria in there, it's a really, really, really good way to prevent. And so anyone that's worried about, hey, I'm afraid I'm going to get sick, I work with a bunch of sick people, I work with sick kids or whatever, as teachers, that kind of thing, have yourself a good probiotic regimen, because I think that is one way to really, really, really help you. Other natural things you can do to actually boost immunity. Fish oil is a really good supplementation. This is an actual show that I want to have soon, talking about the benefits of fish oil. There are many, many benefits. There are no side effects, but one of the really good benefits is it is an immune booster. It will help you produce healthy, active white blood cells that will then be able to go in and fight off some of these things. And so that's another way that you can actually actively say, hey, I'm going to take this. Fruits and vegetables, your antioxidants and your immune boosting power of some of these foods. And you can get really specific and say, hey, I want to get blueberries because I've heard they're this or that. But really, if you just boost your intake of produce, I promise you're going to notice those effects very quickly. And so I think a good way and an easy way, just like we were talking about, is through a good smoothie that you can have most days and make sure, hey, I'm getting these antioxidants, I'm getting these really good nutrients that I'm looking for in order to boost my immunity. The other side of the coin is making sure that you're not doing too many things that degrade your immune system. Eating is one of them. I think, if nothing else, a really good reason to avoid a lot of the junk food this time of year is to think, hey, I want to be healthy during this season. Right? There's nothing worse than getting off on Christmas break from school or from any other time and just spending it sick the whole time, not feeling good. Plus, you don't want to show up at family parties sick, because then you're the person that showed up at a family party sick. So it's a really good kind of motivator to say, hey, I want to be healthy throughout this season. I want to be healthy through the holidays, and so I'm going to make sure that if I'm going to eat some of this junk food, it's going to be really seriously in moderation, not, nice and running rampant like sometimes it happens here. So that's a really good, I think, way to make sure we're not destroying our immune system. Getting sleep is another good way. And again, this is a hard time of year when school gets busier, work gets busier. We're trying to make sure we make all our deadlines for the end of the year, that kind of thing. But really pay attention to your sleep. There's not much that's more degrading to your systems in general, and especially your immune system, than not getting much sleep. And so I think that's definitely something to pay attention to. Again, we're looking at the preventative side of things, but this can all be said too for if you do come down with something. All of a sudden you're feeling crummy, you don't want it to last very long. These are great things that you can do during that time also. Really boost your fruit and vegetable. I think if you feel sick, I think it's a good time to say, hey, I'm done with sugar for the next couple of days. I think if you get off of that stuff, you'll see how quickly you can recover. Now, it's very interesting because I know one of these, my child's sick, I want to keep him hydrated, so I'm going to go get him 7-Up and saltine crackers, right? These are some of these things that we've grown up doing, popsicles, that kind of stuff. But I will tell you, if you keep the stuff that you get not sweetened, right? The popsicles and the 7-Up and that kind of stuff, you're basically feeding the sickness. Bacteria thrives on sugar, right? Fungus loves sugar. All these kinds of things that can invade, they will thank you for putting that sugar in the body, and they will continue to stick around. And so if you're worried about hydration, good old-fashioned water should do the trick. If you need some sort of sweetness, if you feel like they need, then I would juice your own fruit or vegetable. I would make a smoothie. I would make something and just have them sip on it, but make sure that they're getting good nutrients and not just added sugar and sweeteners and things like that. Even like a juice that you get from the store, from concentrate, it's just going to be very, very high in sugar, which is a really easy food and easy fuel for the diseases that we have. And so I would think definitely when we get to the preventative side of things, make sure that you're really cutting out the sugar, the sweeteners, that kind of stuff, and it's really going to help you. And get as much sleep as you can. Do anything you can to really depress your stressed out system. I think this is a time of year where everything just kind of comes to a head. We're the most stressed. We're eating the worst. I mean, there's all kinds of things that come up. And so you have to just look at it from your own immune system's point of view and say, I mean, they're just fighting a losing battle right now. And so anything you can do to help your body deal with stress is going to really, really help you stay healthy throughout this season. And we talked about it in the last show 2 weeks ago with Marge Bowen, and she did a fantastic job of telling us some of these things that we can do. But, I mean, if you know of anything that de-stresses you, go get a massage, come see the chiropractor, go take a hot bath, do some yoga. Whatever you do that you feel like, hey, that's really something that I can de-stress with, make that a real priority this month. Even though things start to get busier, really schedule that time for yourself. And I think that's one of the biggest ways that we can not just prevent these illnesses, but then also fight them off faster. Again, it's not just the bugs, guys. You gotta realize that there is this personal accountability, personal responsibility. That's why that flu bug can hit 10 people and have 10 different showings, right? One person of those 10 can die from it. Flu can be a seriously life-threatening thing. One of those 10 people may not feel anything and have no even idea that they got the flu or were exposed to that flu virus. And so for me, I think it's one of those where, yes, the bugs are around and the germs are around, but if you really take care of your immune system, you're helping yourself fight it off way faster, way better, and you may not even feel a thing. So I think that's probably all the time we have for that question. For all the questions, I guess I'm glad that nobody asked too many more, because we just got through the ones that were asked. Again, thank you for your participation, and hopefully you learned something in the show today, hopefully something that you can take today and tomorrow and the next day and really start to work on your own health this December. I'm excited for this holiday season. We're going to have some great shows coming up next week. We're going to be talking with an Olympic boxing hopeful who's local here in our valley, and she's gonna tell us a little bit about what she's doing. And in a couple of weeks, I've got an animal trainer coming on. We're going to talk about dog health and pet health and things like that. And I think this time of year, pets can be very healthy, very helpful to us. So a lot of fun shows, a really great time of year, even though you can't always get out and run around because sometimes it's a little colder. But we still live in a beautiful place, a great place to be healthy. So go out and take advantage of it. And if you do it for no other reason, do it, of course, for the health of it. Thank you for listening.